The Feast of the Holy Family, which we are celebrating today, was instituted by Pope Leo XIII in 1893. To give you some appreciation for when that was, our parish, Emmanuel, was established 56 years before this feast was instituted. The Church gives us this feast during the octave of Christmas when so many extended families come together, so we as fathers, mothers, and children can reflect on the Holy Family and the example they give us, but also so we can consider the gift of family itself and how God intended the family to be a place of faith, hope, and love. A domestic church, as the Vatican II document Lumen Gentium puts it. The unique role and responsibility of parents is to lead the souls they have been entrusted with to heaven. Parents are the first teachers in the faith for their children, and the prayer of the Church is that they might also be the best of teachers. This may sound familiar to you, for it comes straight from the rite of baptism and reflects the fundamental, unchangeable responsibility parents have to pass on the faith and the example parents are to be for their children in the order of love. When we consider the family in the context of our culture and society, the family has more than just a role to play. For God designated the family to be the very foundation of culture and the bedrock of society. In the Catechism, number 2207, we read, quote, "The family is the original cell of social life. It is the natural society in which husband and wife are called to give themselves in love and in the gift of life. The family is the community in which, from childhood, one can learn moral values, begin to honor God, and make good use of freedom. Family life is an initiation into life in society." Unquote. This natural society that the Catechism speaks of predates any other human society or culture, and is how God intended the family to be. That is, where children and parents both love and learn how to love. But tragically, this isn't true for many families. And in our culture, the family, to include even fatherhood and motherhood itself, is seen more and more as a mere social construct that can be changed by majority vote or through those with influence and power imposing their notion of a utopia on society, with or without the consent of the people. But what God intended can never be put asunder, and such efforts by some, however powerful they style themselves, will ultimately not succeed. But this does beg the question, just what is God's order for the family that we see so perfectly lived out for us in the Holy Family? We find the genesis of the family, not surprisingly, in the book of Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, where we read, "God created mankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." You see, Adam and Eve, male and female, complemented and completed each other. Without Eve, Adam was incomplete. Without Adam, Eve was incomplete. And this is true for mankind generally, whether one has a vocation to marriage or not. Man as man is not complete without woman, nor is woman as woman without man. This is how God intended things to be in the order of love. The eminent and brilliant Catholic philosopher and Carmelite nun, St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, whose given name was Edith Stein, earned her Ph.D. summa cum laude in philosophy in 1916 and wrote extensively on this subject before being martyred for her faith in the gas chambers of Nazi Germany. She called this order of love the original order. In the beginning, St. Teresa explains, man and woman were both made responsible to preserve their own likeness to God, their lordship over the earth, and the reproduction of the human race. In the original order, God gave qualities unique to men and women as a whole, as men and women. And while these qualities are not wholly absent in the other, they are nevertheless possessed with a particular sensitivity and in a particular way in the men and women to whom they have been specifically given. The quality of woman is her singular sensitivity to moral values and an abhorrence for all which is low and mean, which is expressed by the mysterious prophecy that woman would battle the serpent, and is fulfilled by Mary's victory over the serpent for all humanity. As St. Teresa explains further, women tend to understand and nurture the whole person in their totality and foster the special individual destiny of every living thing. She is more capable of a reverent joy in life. We see this God-given maternal quality most clearly in mothers, of course, but it is a special and noble charism that women bring to every aspect of their lives, whether at home or professionally. St. Teresa, while always giving priority to the good of the family, forcefully asserted that there was no profession that could not be done and done well by woman. She herself, before becoming a nun, was a college professor, teacher, and highly sought-after Catholic speaker on philosophy. She was, in fact, widely traveled due to the many people who knew of her and wanted to hear her speak in person. She goes on to identify the unique quality God gave man as his desire and ability to protect and defend, his desire to understand, especially in the abstract, and a desire to master creation through purposeful activity, such as building or creating, or in some other way, leaving his mark, as it were, on the world. But of course, we forfeited this order of love, this original order in the fall in the Garden of Eden. Though still possessing their God-given unique qualities, man and woman no longer trusted God or each other. They began to use their unique gifts not in love, but as an exercise of power. The corruption of the unique gifts given to us takes many forms, of course, but in man it tends to manifest itself in brutality and domination. In woman, in materialism and in inordinate focus on self. In the second reading today, we heard the words love, subordination, and obedience, directed to the husband, wife, and children, respectively. These words speak to restoring the order of love, that dominant quality or charism corrupted by sin. St. Teresa calls this restoration of order of redemption. We see this in the Holy Family, don't we? But you might say, how does this apply to the Holy Family? They're holy after all. The Son of God, the Mother of God, and Saint Joseph, patron saint of the universal church. And you'd be right. For in the Holy Family, love, subordination, and obedience did not need redemption. It was already and always exercised in the order of love. In love, Our Lady subordinated herself to Saint Joseph's leadership. In love, our Lord subordinated himself to both Mary and Joseph and was obedient to them. This is an example of humility beyond all telling. God submitting to and obeying his own creation. St. Joseph submitted himself to God through the message of an angel, as well as subordinating himself to the needs of the family, protecting Jesus and Mary their entire life. You see, love, subordination, and obedience don't go away under redemption. Rather, through redemption, our fallen nature is perfected. Grace doesn't do away with nature. Grace perfects nature. When you and I, in our fallen nature, submit to grace in the order of redemption, it's not an act of humiliation. It's an act of humility, whereby we imitate God himself and thereby restore our true human nature, male and female, to the order of love. The question, who's in charge, or the assertion, I'm in charge, comes from our fallen nature. How can I love? Comes from the order of redemption, from a nature redeemed, from the order of love. I'd like to close with a quote from Pope St. John Paul II's prayer for families, from his apostolic exhortation on the role of the Christian family in the modern world, and take it as our own today. Pope St. John Paul II wrote, "I wish to invoke the protection of the Holy Family of Nazareth. Through God's mysterious design, it is the prototype and example for all Christian families. St. Joseph was a just man, a tireless worker, the upright guardian of those entrusted to his care. May he always guard, protect, and enlighten families. May the Virgin Mary, who is the mother of the Church, also be the mother of the Church of the home, and through her may each family really become a little church in which the mystery of the Church of Christ is mirrored and given new life. And may Christ the Lord, the universal King, the King of families, be ever present in every Christian home."